Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda CR-V 2-litre EX manual car. This particular car is registered RO63XDG, and mileage showing at the start of the road test is 52,373 miles. The reason we do these videos is really simple. It's basically, we just want to make sure that if anyone's looking at our cars online and in the adverts, they actually get to see the car advertised in operation. And the reason we feel it's really important to do it is because we know, unfortunately, to our cost, just how frustrating it can be to go and see a car which can look perfectly good in the description and the photographs, but only to get there and find out when you drive it, it's got a fundamental issue which shows up whilst driving the car. So that's why we do it. We also do it on part of the road test route that anyone or any prospective buyer would go on. And the reason for that is hopefully then it'd be representative of what you'd feel yourself should you be offered a test drive in the car. The car itself has been absolutely wonderfully looked after. All of its servicing, right up until the service we've just done on the car, has been done by the Honda main dealers. And I have to say the car feels like it absolutely straight away, because it is as tight as a drum and it just feels, as cliched as it sounds, but it is as new to drive. It feels that tight on the road. The engine is push button start on the EX models, starts instantly and settles to completely smooth, even idle. There are no warning lights on the dashboard at all relating to the engine or any other part of the car. Oops, better stop here. Temperature gauge running at a third, which is exactly where it's meant to be on a Honda car, by the way. The engines are simply fantastic. It's a typical Honda 4-cylinder engine, and that's a really good thing, by the way. They are the best manufacturer of 4-cylinder engines in the world, bar none. It's crisp sounding, it pulls really well, it's very smooth and very quiet, cam chain driven, a reputation for reliability and longevity absolutely unmatched in its class. It really is. They take enormous mileages with regular maintenance, but it's just a lovely engine to use day in, day out. It really is. And as I said, it just feels absolutely and sounds like new as well. Engine then feeds through into the clutch and gearbox of the vehicle. Clutch in the car absolutely perfect, as you'd expect to feel with this kind of mileage. Bite points exactly what it's meant to be, and the pedal travels lovely and slick and smooth. Gearbox is absolutely superb on the CR-Vs. I always go on about it in these videos, but for very good reason, because it is that good. What I love about it is just basic stuff like the positioning on the gear lever. Elbow goes on the armrest down here, hand falls naturally to the gear lever. Instead of you having to move your arm in this kind of motion, fingertips bring it forward and back, really shorten throw. Beautiful actuation of the gears as it engages into the synchro mesh. It's a class act, it really, really is, and that feels absolutely as new to operate. No slack in it whatsoever. Steering of the vehicle, again, very nicely done. It's got the right kind of weighting, which makes the car feel lovely and secure and solid on the road. It also tracks absolutely dead straight, and there's no vibrations at all at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit. But when you put it through corners like the one that's coming up above here, ahead here, what I've always loved about the CR-V is the chassis and the steering. It allows it to flow through corners, minimal steering input, really good body control, holds its line absolutely fantastically well without that pitching emotion that goes on with so many of its competitors. Really, really beautifully done, but it still allows for a very, very comfortable ride. Honda know this market better than anybody. The CR-V is the best selling SUV in the world, and you can feel why when you drive it, because it's got a perfect compromise for day-to-day family use. It really is superb in that sense. Brakes on the car, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to leave it a little bit late for this turn and just give it a nice sharp thud. It's a really lovely brake pedal on the vehicle, lovely and powerful. There's no pulsing or vibrations coming back through the brake pedal at all, so all in fine fettle there. Should have said with regard to the chassis, by the way, what I'm also doing on these test drives is I am listening out for any kind of noises coming from underneath the car that shouldn't be there. So when it hits a bump, you'll hear it, although it's quite well muted. But there shouldn't be any kind of secondary sort of chatterings or knockings, and there's nothing at all. So coming inside the vehicle, first things first, set in all the videos for the CR-Vs, but it's completely true. They are brilliantly built cars. No squeaks, no rattles, no buzzers from the trim. It is beautifully made, and it is to my internal frustration that I still hear and still read the same motoring magazines lauding usually the German manufacturers for their build quality because they feel hefty, they've got lots of squidgy plastics. But what they should really do is not just test brand new cars, but come back to them 5 or 10 years later, then see how they feel. Because over the bumps like this one here, which is horrible, you go into some of those premium models and they can creak and groan and rattle, and we've taken enough in as part exchange to know that. This is just superbly built. It really is, and eminently practical, because a lot of the kind of the harder plastics are very easy to keep clean and wipe, and they're resistant to sort of damage as well. You get a lovely view out of the car. I can actually see a bonnet, which is a rarity in a modern car because we've got quite a low dashboard line. These big wing mirrors either side, which give you a lovely view around the vehicle as you're driving along, so you don't feel sort of pinned into the car with sort of limited visibility. Quite the opposite, in fact. But the dash itself is laden with equipment, of course, being an EX, but very, very simple to use. Literally a couple of days in one of these cars and it all becomes second nature pretty much straight away. And everything working exactly as it should, by the way. Sat nav, you can see there, big screen one on these EX models, working perfectly. Down below that, you've got this dual zone climate control system. We put it in the workshop earlier when we were doing the service of the vehicle, and it pumps out lovely cold air, and that was obviously a warm workshop we did it in. Quality of the switch gear, absolutely superb. It's got that lovely kind of rubbery click action to it, which sounds really petty, but it just shows that Honda put a lot of attention into these things, and they're designed to last the life of the car in reality. Dash in front, simple, legible, easy to take the information in, all the information you want, and absolutely no more at all, again, which I really like. Get this lovely small diameter leather bound steering wheel, which feels as new in hand to hold, all working exactly as it should. This is a four-wheel drive version of the CR-V, although there are no buttons to press at all to operate the four-wheel drive, because basically the Honda worked out get the car to do it for you, because most people will be driving as I am today in perfectly good conditions where you don't need four-wheel drive operating. If you have four-wheel drive on a permanent basis, unfortunately that means you're permanently turning it over, which means you're going to get through more fuel, definitely going to get through more tyres more quickly, and it does put a lot more mechanical stress through the car. Because this is used infrequently, it's incredibly reliable. We've been selling these cars independently for nearly 30 years now, and we used to work at the Honda main dealers, so we know them, and we've never put a spanner on the four-wheel drive system of a CR-V or anything that utilises it. And it's also fantastically effective. I tow a caravan with ours. We've got one, and this time of year when we take the caravan out, when we're not in lockdown or otherwise, we've across some pretty muddy fields with them and never come close to getting stuck, so it's very, very good indeed. As I said at the start of the video, the point, as brief as it might be, is just to show the car in operation, but to feedback anything I can that merits a mention. There's nothing at all. It drives absolutely beautifully. It really, really does. Whoever's lucky enough to get this next will be taking on a simply wonderful car.